We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back on Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'm still your host, Mark Angelides, and we are continued to be joined by Liberty Nation's executive editor, Leesa K. Donner. Now, Leesa, we've been talking communication.
No namaste. No namaste.
No namaste.
I saw two of those. If
That
you're
is,
watching.
for those of you who are watching this on video catch-up, that wasn't a namaste. That was me doing a Mr. Burns from The Simpsons thing. Oh, that's the story, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, exactly.
The tented fingers of evil. So we've been talking communications, and I want to carry this topic on. Let's talk about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. More specifically, let's go and talk about their surrogates, because surrogates are the ones that are, let's say, prosecuting these campaigns at the moment. And it seems to me that on Donald Trump's side, you've got some very interesting surrogates, no doubt. You've got Tulsi Gabbard, you've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and you've got Elon Musk. They're three very powerful
J.D. Vance, of course.
And J.D. Vance, of course. He doesn't count, though. He's on the ticket. He doesn't count. But he is a very forceful personality and very competent at getting his point across. And then on the flip side, you've got Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, obviously. But her surrogates, and without meaning to denigrate anybody here, it's the legacy media types who we know would clap for a biscuit for any Democrat that was on the ticket, as they did with Joe Biden when his clear cognitive decline was suddenly revealed to them after the debate, after everybody else knew about it for a year. You've got a handful of celebrities who, let's be fair, either candidate's policies, if enacted, will not affect them in any way, shape, or form. The tax things won't affect them. Any restrictions on things will not affect them. And who else do you have? You have a little social media army that goes out there spreading weird little 3-second clips to try and make Donald Trump look bad. And then they get ratioed when everybody shows the other 3 seconds where it means something completely different. And I think in terms of the surrogate wars, and that's what we're going to call it, the surrogate wars. It follows the great Roman legion wars of the early millennia. I think in the surrogate wars, Donald Trump's winning. But what's your take on that?
I think surrogates are only of so much use.
Yes.
It's from the top down. Trump also has, a second level of surrogates like Kellyanne Conway, who I think is a superb communicator. She always has something really crafty and clever to say, but it always seems to be on target. She's quite a force, I think, as a second surrogate. But I think it comes from the top down. And I guess I wanted to ask you, one of them's got a campaign of, we better be careful here. There's definitely trouble ahead. And the other one's got a campaign of hope and joy and changing and looking for the future. Which one do you think is more effective communication-wise?
I think the former is more effective. And the reason for that is...
Former meaning...
the former meaning that there's danger on the way and I know how to stop it coming, as opposed to the latter, which would be the hope and joy, because everybody likes a positive message. Of course they do. But when that's only good when times are good. And if times are bad, and economically, militarily around the world, foreign policy, the border crisis, fentanyl, education, national debt, when things are not good, they need somebody voters want somebody, I think, to identify there's a problem, to say how the problem came about, how they're going to fix it, and this will be the end result. It doesn't give you that.
I used to think the same thing, but I've done a lot of research, and strangely enough, it's the positive campaigns that are usually the winning campaigns. And obviously, the Democrats know that. I mean, research after research. I've dug into papers and PhD papers and lots of research online, and it tends to be the positive campaigns that win over the negative campaigns. So that's something to watch. I think perhaps Donald Trump can be careful of his rhetoric a little bit and try to not paint a rosy picture where there isn't one, but not paint a, we're headed for World War III either.
That's absolutely fascinating, Lisa. I'd really love to actually, maybe we should think about doing this on the page of libertynation.com, put together an analysis of the presidential races and the key messages. And
No,
what,
it is true. I mean, think
yeah,
about it. Morning in America,
sure, Morning in
Ronald
America is a
Reagan.
great one. However, I think there is one element that I'd be very curious to dig into on that, and that's whether, because as far as I can tell, this race with Kamala Harris, this is in a sense, this is a continuation of the Biden presidency. So she's the de facto incumbent because she is at the White House.
Well, yeah, yeah.
And so a message of positive hope on a record of, let's be fair, fairly negative factors. I wonder if that plays as well. So these second term messages, second term campaigns, are they the positive ones? Or, as Joe Biden was hinting at when he was shortly running for thing, he wanted to finish the job, meaning that things weren't where they needed to be.
Well, let's look at this. Okay, so running for a second term and losing in the relative recently, in the last 50
Sure.
years or so, we've got Jimmy Carter and George H.W. Bush, right?
And
The
Donald
rest,
Trump.
yeah, and the rest don't really count because they were reelected. So, and being reelected as an incumbent is a definite advantage for sure.
Mm.
So, are you saying in their second terms, were they negative or positive, or
Yes.
what's your
Yeah,
point here?
that's what I'd like to find out is if their second terms, if their messaging was more or less positive than their campaigns in the first term. So Obama in 2008 was hope and change, but he wasn't so much that in 2012.
But he didn't need to be. I think in both
Sure.
instances, in thinking about George H.W. Bush and Jimmy Carter, what crushed them both was the economy, especially for Carter. He just
Yeah.
was annihilated by the economy. And George H.W. Bush, with his tax,
Yeah.
issues, no
Read
new
my
taxes,
lips.
read
No
my
new
lips.
taxes. By the way, here's the new taxes.
But
Um,
he, first time around, he had the 1,000 points of light, so
Yeah.
he had the positive message too. I'm just saying that I think candidates need to be aware that a positive message does help.
We'll be continuing this conversation after this short break with Leesa K. Donna. Don't go anywhere.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.